All right, welcome everybody. I'm good. If you're watching this video on YouTube, you already know how long the video is. I wanted to do a short video because there's people that can't be in the live class because they work during the daytime when we conduct them. So they've been missing the fact that I haven't been recording stuff. So I figured I'll record something short for them just so there's something for people who are not able to attend. They can still have something they can learn from us. So I wanted to do a short video, but the reality is this topic we could do more than 2 hours and it probably still wouldn't be long enough. So my goal is to just get there real quick, just to give you a topic that we can learn. So the question came up last week. We talked about this in the live class. Are non-Jews allowed to fulfill mitzvot? And I will tell you the answer is yes. Which ones? All of them that we're doing. Okay, there's always going to be someone from the actually crowd. Well, you can't partake in the Korban Pesach unless you're circumcised. Well, are we doing that? We don't have a temple right now. So, in general, anything that we're doing, they are allowed to do as long as they do it the way we do it. So, we're going to look at the sources for that. We're big fans of Mishnah Torah around here. So, that's going to be our source. As soon as I find the share screen on here, is that this share? Yeah, okay. Great. Share. Okay. Now, where are all my tabs that I opened? All right. Do you guys see this thing, Ben Noah versus Akum? Is it showing on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Using different browsers and different tabs. So let's define some terminology that's going to come up that we're going to need to know. Ger Toshav usually is um, defined as resident alien, right? So what's the difference between a Ger Toshav, Ben Noach, Akum, and Nochri? Okay, the definition of a Ger Toshav is discussed in Avodah Zarah 64b. The Gemara provides several definitions of what the term refers to. In common practice, it refers to a non-Jew who accepts upon himself 7 Noahide commandments. This is a Ger Toshav. So people call them a Noahide. This is what they're referring to, a Ger Toshav. And we know what these 7 laws are. They're they're out there being repeated to death. Okay, what's an akum? It's an abbreviation for Oved Avodat Kochavim and refers to idolaters. Okay, this is important because we're going over, once we stop the recording, we're going to go over the kashrut portion, and this term akum is going to be used a lot. Okay, and you see it has a negative connotation, so I'm not a big fan of it, but it is in the curriculum. Okay, a ben Noach. Also, you'll find when they're saying a Noahide, when you look at the Hebrew, what does it say? It says Ben Noach. Sometimes they'll translate it as Gentile. You look at the Hebrew, what does it say? Ben Noach. Ben is a descendant of Noah, which is what all the world is, descendants of Noah. So um, Ben Noach refers to all non-Jews, though technically it refers to Jews as well, because we all descended from these 8 people on the ark. As everyone is descended from Noah, the term is used colloquially, whatever, however you pronounce that, to refer to just non-Jews. Even though technically we're descendants of Noah also, we don't refer to ourselves as that. We refer to ourselves as Jews. A Nachri is the only term on the list that refers to all non-Jews and only non-Jews. The term literally means Gentile. I don't think we're going to see this in our literature today, but this also can have some negative connotations to it. All right, you left off goy from your list, which just means nation. Colloquially, we this also refers to any and all non-Jews. Goy just means nation, so we're a nation, so we are also goy, but we don't call each other goyim. Hey, what's up, goyim? What's up, goy? We don't do that. So when you hear us say goy, we're referring to the other nations, not ours, because we refer to ourselves as the nation of Israel. All right, so um, Akum, remember this because we're going to talk about it in the kashrut series that we're about to go over, and it has a negative connotation. It's talking about Gentiles. Ben Noach, Gentiles, um, and Ger Toshav. Today, anybody talks about a Ger Toshav, they're talking about a non-Jew, right? Who accepts these seven Noahide laws. So whenever you hear anybody say Ger Toshav, that's what they're talking about. A non-Jew who's following seven laws. Now the question we're going to go over, are we allowed to accept them? There's people that do. Should they? We'll talk about it briefly. Um, but that's when you hear the term Ger Toshav, this is what they're saying, a non-Jew who's following seven laws. So you've heard Abraham is the first Jew, right? So in last week's Parsha, we come here. Abraham rose from the presence of his dead wife and spoke to the Hittites in these words: I am a foreigner and only a sojourner among you. Over here, what does it say? Ger Toshav Anochi. I'm a Ger Toshav? Didn't we just say if we call someone a Ger Toshav, they are a non-Jew who only follows seven laws? So this was Abraham? It's a longer discussion. You can be a Jew and be a sojourner in another group of people in another land. This is us, the diaspora. We're living in other people's countries. We're sojourning there if we're in the diaspora. So whether you want to say he was the first Jew, he wasn't a Jew because we didn't have the Torah, I'm not dealing with that right now. It's a longer discussion. I'm talking about this right now. Can non-Jews fulfill mitzvot? And then the question comes up, well, what about a Noahide? Noahide, a Ger Toshav, he's different from your average Gentile. You have, of course, he's a Gentile, but he's like a special Gentile. He's not like the other Gentiles. He's a good Gentile compared to the bad Gentiles. So that's the context that we're discussing here. All right, so can we accept them today? So we need to go to Mishnah Torah. The first book in Mishnah Torah is Sefer Hamada, Avodat Kochavim. Does it say what this means here? It's like laws of star worshippers, idolaters, basically non-Jews of other religions. Okay. And there's some stuff in here that I don't think I want to go over. But who does this apply to? Gentiles? It is, however, a mitzvah to eradicate Jewish traitors, minim, apikorsim, and to cause them to descend into the pit of destruction, since they cause difficulty to the Jews and sway people away from God. This is talking about Jews, to eradicate Jewish traitors. It's interesting, Rambam doesn't say that. It's unfortunate that he's doing this, but he's got a Jewish neshama, he's still a spark, literally part of Hashem. He's not bringing in that. He's telling you, these people are bad for us. This is why we used to sit Shiva, for Jews that left the religion and actively went against us, tried to separate us from God. But you don't really hear about this kind of stuff anymore today. Okay. So again, this is chapter 10, and this is where we're going to find the law. Okay, halakha 5. We should provide for poor idolaters together with poor Jews for the sake of peace. Okay, so everyone hating on people that are of another religion, we have no obligation to hate them and make them our enemies, especially if you're in the diaspora living in their land. Just because we don't like what their religion is does not give us permission to mistreat them. We should be providing for the poor idolaters together with poor Jews for the sake of peace. We should not rebuke idolaters from taking lechet. How is this pronounced? Shicha and peah. This is the forgotten sheaf. The peah is the corner of the fields, and what you drop. We should not prevent them from taking it, even the idolaters, for the sake of peace. One may inquire about their well-being even on their festivals. So if it's December and the cashier doesn't say happy holidays, she tells you Merry, whatever, for their holidays, you can even inquire about their well-being, even on their festivals that we don't celebrate for the sake of peace. Certainly don't need to be attacking them and say, oh, I'm so offended they, brought up their religion in their land, on their holiday that they celebrate. Okay. This is why this is such a longer conversation. It could be. I'm skipping over 90% of it just to get to the point that I'm trying to make. Okay, all of the above matters apply only in an era where Israel is in exile. Are we in exile today? Yes. So these matters apply. Among the idolaters, or in an era when the idolaters are in power. Is that today? Yes. When, however, Israel is in power over them, that means we control the borders of the land of Israel. We control all the Jews within the borders, and we control all the non Jews within the borders. It's forbidden for us to allow an idolater among us. Even a temporary resident or a merchant who travels from place to place should not be allowed to pass through the land until he accepts the 7 laws commanded to Noah and his descendants. They shall not dwell in your land, even temporarily. Okay, look what it says here. A person who accepts these 7 mitzvot is a ger toshav. This is why today they're referred to as a non-Jew. Resident alien is usually how it's translated. One who's not one of us is coming to dwell around us, and they are going to accept these 7 laws. So luckily, they're executed if they violate any of these 7. Jews don't get death penalty for stealing, but these people do. Any of the 7 laws that they violate, they would be executed. Do we accept them today? A ger toshav may be accepted only in the area when the laws of the Jubilee year are observed. That's not clear enough. He repeats it. In an era where the laws of Jubilee year are not observed, however, we may accept only full converts to Judaism. So are we observing the Jubilee now? No. So what's the halacha? You can either be a convert to Judaism, you're welcome, everyone is, or you can be a Gentile. We do not have this special category of non-Jews that's different from the other non-Jews because you keep 7 laws, so you're somehow better than somebody else who keeps 100 laws because you like these 7 that were cherry-picked by rabbis. Okay, so it's clear. You don't have Jubilee, you don't have ger toshavim. Does this make sense to everybody? Okay, so this is the. Is there a question?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So this is the first book in Mishnah Torah. So Rambam assumes, I mean, it could not be more clear than this, the way he articulates this. So he assumes that you know this when you get to Hilchot Malachim, Laws of Kings, which is the last book in Mishnah Torah. So chronologically, you should already know this when you get there. So let's move this here and go to our search bar. Hilchot Malachim. So this is one of the ones where people want to cherry pick one sentence out of context and quote Rambam, ignoring everything else that Rambam says about it. So let's go to chapter 11. In the future, the Messianic king will arise and renew the Davidic dynasty, restoring it to its initial sovereignty. He will build the temple and gather the dispersed of Israel. Then, in his days, the observance of all the statutes will return to their previous state. Has this happened yet? No. So we're still talking about a future era when the observance of all the statutes will return to their previous state, like when we were allowed to accept ger toshavim. When they came in, accepted the 7 laws in front of the Bet Din, we were allowed to accept them. We are in an era now where we're not. We will offer sacrifices that will return once we have a temple again. We will observe the sabbatical and the Jubilee. Remember what we just read. If you don't have Jubilee, you don't have ger toshav. You have only full converts and Gentiles. Those are the only 2 categories there are. There's no more quasi-converts. I'm like part Jewish, but I don't want to go all the way, so I got the halfway status. We don't have that anymore. In the future, we will, because all of these things will return. So a Sanhedrin will declare that the Jubilee is back on. We will be observing Yovel. And as a result of that being in place, then they will declare we are once again allowed to accept ger toshavim, which we're not able to now because we don't have this. It's a future era when we will be allowed to accept them. This is the thing that people don't like to talk about. will observe the sabbatical and jubilee years according to all their particulars as described by the Torah. Things that we are not doing now because we are not in that era. So halakhically, we're not allowed to accept it. Okay, so let's go to the previous chapter here. And this is where we're going to find our law about can they do this. What do we see here? A Noahide. What do we have in the Hebrew? Ben Noach, a Gentile, a descendant of Noah. A Noahide, Ben Noach. A Noahide who converted was circumcised. Again, Noahide, Ben Noach, a descendant of Noah, a Gentile, and immersed in a mikvah, and afterwards decided to forsake God and revert to his previous state of a Ben Noach, a Gentile, as a resident alien, a Ger Toshav. I don't want to follow all these mitzvot. I just want to follow the seven. I want to revert to my status as a Ger Toshav. It's not granted permission to do so. Once you convert, there's no going back. There's only one exception to that. And it's not granted here. He's not given permission to do so. He must remain as an Israelite in all matters or be executed. Once you convert, there's no going back. This is the exception, the only exception that there is. If he was a minor, a Gentile who was a minor and immersed by the court, now he's Jewish, he may repudiate his conversion when he attains the majority and assume the status of a resident alien alone. Go back to being a Gentile who keeps these seven laws, and you'll be executed because you're not considered Jewish, because this is the only time you can renounce your conversion. You don't get to go back to your status as a Gentile. Once you convert, you're Jewish. This is the only exception. Because he was a minor, he was converted against his will. He didn't get to consent. So that's why he's allowed to reject the conversion that was done against his will when he was a child. There's even debate about, can he actually do that? When is it? Does it have to be before he becomes an adult? Is it at that moment that he becomes an adult and not a second later? If he started following mitzvot, is it then too late? So there's debates about it. This is the only exception. You convert, you're Jewish. That's it. If he does not object, as soon as he attains maturity, he's no longer given the opportunity to object, and the status is that of a righteous convert, no matter what. Even if he starts worshiping idols and doing all kinds of things that he should not be doing. Okay. So these are the two halachot that I want to get to, building up context to get us to this moment. It's already been explained that Noahides plural, so instead of Ben Noach, we have B'nai Noach plural. Okay, Gentiles are always executed by decapitation. Okay, go over that. According to the oral tradition, Noahides are forbidden to crossbreed animals. A Gentile who gave a Jew a blow is liable to die for causing even the most minimal damage. Nevertheless, we'll be compassionate on him, and we won't execute him. But so how can anyone say, well, this is somehow a superior status? The only people who say that have no idea what the halakha actually says, in my opinion. Okay. They're not allowed to. Okay, this is important. They are not allowed to generate or allowed to originate a new religion or create mitzvot for themselves based on their own decisions. They may either become righteous converts and accept all the mitzvot, which makes you a Jew, a convert, or retain your status as a non-Jew without adding or detracting from them. If a Gentile studies the Torah, makes a Sabbath, or creates a religious practice, a Jewish court should beat him, punish him, and inform him that he's obligated to die. However, he's not to be executed. So it's clear here, you're not allowed to create, Gentiles are not allowed to create religious practices. If you want to convert, you convert, accept Torah, and you do things the way we do them. If you're not doing them the way we do them, then you're creating a new religion for yourself, which is what the Noahide scam has become. A brand new religion for Gentiles that have been scammed out of conversion by thinking that this is an alternative to conversion. So it has become the new religion that halakhically it's supposed to prevent from happening. Okay, this here about if he studies Torah, okay, conversion halakhically is not a multi-year process. You are officially Jewish once you go through the mikvah. So it's a very quick process. So now, even before you even learn what all the mitzvot are, these people that converted, and then they learned what did they just convert to? What are all the particulars that I just accepted and converted to? So it was a very quick process, and then they were not Gentiles studying Torah. They were Jews learning Torah. Okay, so right here, if anyone's taking notes, this is the halakha that you want to refer to. We should not prevent a Noahide. Okay, what does it say here? Does it say Ger Toshav? It says Ben Noach. Okay, so we should not prevent a Gentile. Remember, it's synonymous with Gentile who desires to perform one of the Torah's mitzvot in order to receive reward from doing so, provided he performs it as required. If he brings an animal to be sacrificed as a burnt offering, we should receive it. So does it put limitations on what these Gentiles are allowed to do? No, they're allowed to do any mitzvah they want, as long as they do it the way we are doing it. So this is the halacha. Okay, now the second part of this, if a Noahide who observes the seven mitzvot gives to charity. Okay, again, we're talking Ger Toshav here. We're talking because he's following the seven mitzvot. We should accept it from him. It appears to me, this is Rambam's opinion, that it should be given to the Jewish poor, for the Noahide may derive his subsistence from the Jews, and they are commanded to support him if necessary. So, if you have one of these people in an era where we were allowed to accept them, and they want to give us charity, yeah, we can take it, and we can give it. We can support poor Jewish children with it. We can use it as tzedakah, right? We can use it to buy all the things that we need to provide education for them. Because this is someone who follows the seven laws. They're in good standing. They are non-Jews. And if they don't follow these seven laws, they're going to be executed for violating any of them. So we can take their charity and we can support ourselves with it because we have an obligation to support them. Now it changes here. In contrast, if an idolater gives charity, we should accept it from him and give it to the Gentile poor. Why don't we use this idolater? An idolater is a non-Jew, right? Why don't we take their charity? We're going to benefit from it. We're going to use it for things that we need. Why do we take it from them and give it to the Gentile poor and not us? We can't even take their inanimate objects. It could have been used for idolatry. This is contrasting the non-Jews who are in good standing with us and the non-Jews who are actively practicing idolatry. So the word here is akum. Remember, we started off by giving you the definitions here. Um, akum refers to non-Jews that are idolaters. This is different from a non-Jew who from a ger toshav, a non-Jew who accepts himself the seven Noahide commandments. Okay, so we see the difference here. In an era where we are allowed to accept them, one of these Gentiles who agrees to follow the seven mitzvot, in an era when we're allowed to accept them, we can take their charity. Some random non-Jew or an actual idolater. Um, this is a contrast. We can take it. We'll take their donation, but we can't use it for us. We can give this to Gentile poor, which includes these people. We can, since we have to support them, even through force. We can say, hey, your house is over here on the border. I'm not. You're not a Jew. I'm not convinced that you won't side with our enemy. We're going to move you inland. We're going to, against your will, pick you up, uproot you, and we're going to locate you in a town over here. This was allowed. So yeah, we are obligated to appoint judges for them, for these resident aliens. It doesn't mean They appoint judges for themselves. We're in charge. We control what happens over there. We have domination over them. So it's not a status that someone should be proud of. Either way, we're not even allowed to accept it. All right, so this is the whole point of it. We should not prevent a Noahide who desires to perform one of the Torah's mitzvot in order to receive reward from doing so, provided he does it as required. Now, why do you hear people saying, "Oh, well, that doesn't apply to this mitzvah and that mitzvah"? We have to tell them to violate Shabbat. Rambam is not the only opinion. There are people who disagree. Here in the commentary, it says he must perform the mitzvah in all its particulars as required by Jewish law. This is halakha. The Radbaz, who's one person, he explains that the mitzvot which require holiness and purity, for example, tefillin or mezuzah, should be withheld from Gentiles. Thank you, Radbaz, for your opinion, but I will stick with Rambam, who is more of a halakhic authority, in my opinion, who does not bring up these exceptions. So if you are someone who says, I like Radbaz, I don't want to let this person put on tefillin. All right, I can't say that you're not allowed to have that opinion, but I can say it doesn't have to be this way. All of you and your local rabbis are 100% allowed to go by Rambam's opinion. And if you ask them about some of other Rambam's opinion, they'll tell you you're not allowed to disagree with Rambam on the 13 principles and some other things. So he's certainly an authority on some things when it's convenient. But what about this? You are 100% allowed to say, I don't like Radbaz's opinion. I like Rambam's. We should not prevent a Noahide, a Ben Noach, a Gentile from performing any of the Torah's mitzvot. They 100% should be allowed. And then you get into, well, now that we're extending the conversion process, even if you like Radbaz, you're going to tell these people you can't put a mezuzah. You're in the conversion process. You're keeping Shabbat. You're going to tell them you can't put a mezuzah on your door. We need you to violate Shabbat. You're entering a covenant with Hashem. And I need you to violate that just to show you're not one of us. We don't care what Rambam says. I want you to turn on a light switch or just do something to show that you're not one of us, that you're not going to do what I teach my entire community, my family, the way I raise my children. Do something to violate that I would never ask them to do, to show there's a difference between you and us. Until we allow you to go into the mikvah, then we would never ask you to do that. But until then, you need to know you're not one of us. Violate Shabbat. Don't put that mezuzah up. I'm very against that. It's not just my personal opinion. This is Rambam's opinion. So the people who want to take what he says in one sentence out of context, oh, this is what he says about Noahides. Tell them to teach you the whole story, what Rambam says about Noahides. I guarantee you, they're not bringing this kind of stuff up. Even the ones that know about it. So that's my opinion. Debate it. Call me names in the comments if you want to. So I'll title this, Are non-Jews allowed to keep mitzvot? And the answer, according to Rambam, is yes, 100%. All right. Any questions before we stop the recording and get on to the other topic that we had planned for today? Okay.
The other rabbi that you said, not Rambam, but the other one. How do you spell his name?
Radbaz, Radbaz. It's an acronym.
Radbaz. Okay.
So the people that say Rambam is not the ultimate authority, that's true. That's true. You are allowed to disagree with Rambam, and some people do. I just posted a video on my channel, should be the one I posted just before this. So halakha, we have codifications. Mishnah Torah is the only complete codification of halakha. It's the only one. To this day, there's never been another work like that. So today, people want to say we go by the Shulchan Aruch, but the Shulchan Aruch only deals with what happens in the diaspora. So this is one reason why Mishnah Torah is superior. It's the only complete codification. So if you're one of these people, which is the majority, that claims to go by the Shulchan Aruch, the Shulchan Aruch is 95% Rambam anyway, because Yosef Karo, who is the compiler of the Shulchan Aruch, he took the three opinions, the Rif, the Rosh, and the Rambam. Anytime two of them agreed, he put that in the Shulchan Aruch. If it was two agreed and one disagreed, he took the opinion that disagreed and he threw it out. So you're always going to get the 2 out of 3. So it's going to be either the Rif, the Rosh, or the Rambam that's in there, right? So the Rambam in his Hakdama to the Mishnah Torah, his introduction, he says the Rif is flawless. He says he can only count on either one hand or 2 hands. I don't remember which. The number of times he disagrees with the Rif. So let's say, because I don't remember, let's just say he said 2 hands. That means there's a maximum of 10 times that Rambam disagrees with the Rif. Other than those maximum 10 times, everything Rambam says, the Rif is going to say. So that's already 2 out of 3. So that's what goes in the Shulchan Aruch. Now, let's say one of these 10 times, Rambam actually disagrees with the Rif. They don't agree. Now, the Rosh is the tiebreaker. If the Rosh agrees with Rambam, even though this is a rare occasion where Rambam disagrees with the Rif, I have Rambam and the Rosh. Rambam still gets into the Shulchan Aruch because it's always the 2 out of 3. So the Shulchan Aruch is 90% Rambam anyway. And usually when the Shulchan Aruch disagrees with Mishnah Torah, it's the Rosh that's bringing that in. He's the one that disagrees because the deck was stacked against him, because the Rif and the Rambam are almost always identical in their opinions. So the last video that I posted before this, it's Yitzhak Britzowitz, the head of Or Sameach, articulating it better than I did. It's like a 1-minute video where he says the exact same thing. So if you claim to go by the Shulchan Aruch and say, well, I don't care what Rambam says here. All right, well, 95% of what you're going by in the Shulchan Aruch is Rambam anyway. For example, laws of conversions. You're going to find them in a Bia here in the Mishnah Torah, chapter 13 and 14. In Shulchan Aruch, it's Yoreh De'ah 268. It's an abridged version. It's one chapter in the Shulchan Aruch, which is verbatim what you see in a Bia 13 and 14. It's just a shorter version, but it's almost word for word. The only change that's really there is it actually makes conversions easier in the Shulchan Aruch than it does in the Mishnah Torah. For example, in Mishnah Torah, you need 3 witnesses on the Bet Din. The Shulchan Aruch says B'diavad, after the fact, if there was only 2, it's still a kosher conversion. Meaning, if you had 3, we don't like one of the people on your Bet Din, you can discard him. You still have 2. According to the Shulchan Aruch, this is a kosher conversion. Whereas the Mishnah Torah is more strict. It says you would have to have 3. So other than little things like that, 95% Rambam anyway. So I forget how I got started on this. Anyway, let's end this now. Yeah, how long it's been, and I'll start recording short videos. I don't know how short this was for the people who can't be here. That way, they have something to learn, and we'll continue on with the Kashrut series off the recording, and we'll see you all next week. Share.